let's find out. Going to my channel here. Forest clearing. Is that what we're doing today? Is that where we're at? Forest clearing. Check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it sounds good. Okay, great. So hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online, and I'm creating an adventure in the Eberron campaign setting. Like, subscribe, bell icons, get notifications. I'm skipping the intros. I'm getting right to work. I'm behind schedule for where I wanted to be this morning. So let's just dive into it. I took some time to pull up previous videos and be reminded of how I did the texturing for all this stuff. So I now have that in place. I'm going to get my eraser to where it's supposed to be at 250. And let's see, I've got this background texture going on. Okay, great. So I think I am set up and know what I want to do. I'm going to grab this brush. We're going to grab this brush. It's supposed to be 125 pixels in size. Cool. I'm going to conceal that for the moment. We're going to take this grit background here, and we're going to instead be here. So this gray background that we built is fine. These are trees up here. Drop that all together. Let's get rid of our references for now. I'm going to start filling this all in along here. We're gonna be here a hot minute. This is what we're doing today. We're stippling. It's all stipples and erasers. That's the entire composition of the ground scrub that we do. Same thing with the trees. So I'm going to just grind through and do steps of this that you'll be able to see. Those episode 132 and 134, I'll add links to them to the description down below once we finish the video, so you can see where we came up with this ground texturing technique and the kind of crap we were talking about at the time. So that was last year. This project has been on my workbench for quite some time. It is, how you say, a very big project. Maybe it's my lack of experience that makes it overly complicated. The process surely must be simpler than this. Also, no wonder there was like 32-page adventures. This is I made a thick boy. This one is like 100 and it'll probably be 120 pages when it's done. It's got a lot going on that you can do a ton of stuff with. So hopefully people think it's cool and tear it apart and put it back together again to do whatever it is that they want with it. But we're only going to be here for about 40, maybe another 40-ish minutes today. Luckily, all we're doing is this stippling. I'm going to do some of this offline. I might actually jump on and do some more of this in the afternoon after work today. I'm not sure exactly what my evening is looking like right now, but I will definitely be doing some more just work in general on this tonight. Most of this is going to get erased down. We're adding the texture and then destroying it. I hold on this brush too long, it gets smudgy like that. So I have to do very light tap. And I don't mind these gaps because it's mostly going to get erased down. If there's gaps in the texture, then it just adds more organic abuse to the surface. We're getting there. Well, hey, we have new subscribers today. Thanks a lot, folks, for people taking an interest in this channel. We are slowly growing over time. The way that I run my channel is probably not much to YouTube's liking with, you know, the algorithms and the easy money. I don't think anything I do is like easy money. The entire process takes quite some time, and it's very handcrafting here. So it is not easy for me just to churn out content with the level of detail and attention I try to pay to the things that I'm willing to invest my time in. And that's just a quest for excellence. Trees. Yeah, get rid of the trees. We don't need trees right now. A lot of dotting. So I'm going to finish sweeping the perimeter. And then maybe I'll show you the second step of this. I can't use too large of a pixel, otherwise the texture starts to, like the line weight starts to disrupt the feeling of the texture. So you gotta, when you're creating a texture, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to like what is the markings, and is there a replicatable pattern, and is that pattern being created by the brush itself that you're using, and what do you need to do to break that down so it feels more natural and chaotic if it's supposed to be a natural setting that you're creating. If there is a constructed environment like a dungeon or a building or something, then replicating pattern is how you would express that environment. But nature is very different with its organic nature of well, there are patterns, they're just not, they're more fractal in nature than, pardon the pun, they're more fractal than manufactured, if that makes sense. But honestly, if you go check out the I'll have them in the description when we're done, but the episode 133, where we're talking about fractal brushes and expressing natural objects. That was a lot of fun. Definitely worth your time checking out. So I'll be sure to add that in the description down below after we finish stream today. I'm mostly just trying to fill in the gaps. It's a non-symmetrical shape that when I tap at different angles, it leaves different inconsistent gaps, and again, those gaps is what feels natural when you're looking at an environment. Those flaws and the inconsistency, the pattern, like you can see the pattern in texturing, but it's flawed. Like that. Martial Powers playtest on Monday went fantastic. Had a really fun time. Great team of people. I'm very much looking forward to the next one, and we found some great great revisions necessary for the exploits that were previously created, because we have this thing. So you prepare powers like spells, and you have a mana pool to spend points on. Just like, well, they're spell points, right? It's a mana pool. You spend your points, you cast the thing, bada bing, bada boom. But one of the ways to differentiate spell casting from martial powers is the martial characters don't get nearly as much mana as the spellcasters do, but they have class features that let them reduce the amount of mana they use when they use powers. So like they can like downcast spells without reducing its power. So they can if you're playing a martial character, you can there's class features that when you take different actions, it generates free mana that you can spend, like attacks or bonus actions, reactions. These things can generate mana for your character on a per round basis. So spend some action economy to get free mana, to then spend that mana on different action economies. So you're reducing the actions that you take, and are rewarded with free mana to make whatever it is that you do more than what you would have done without mana. So it's a trade-off. You're finishing around more quickly, but it's going to have more flash bang impact than a bunch of mundane actions that you could perform, quote unquote mundane. So it's a neat system there, and there's also the ability to just a general rule that if you can prepare a power and then you can prepare it twice, essentially, and if you do, you reduce its cost by 1 mana, potentially to 0. So we had to rebuild a lot of the exploits that existed in the game that were like when you roll this die, or when you move, you do this thing that only cost 1 mana to do, that suddenly became free. So like if you have things that you can do for free every time you move, you could just potentially spam abuse that thing that you're doing, because you could potentially stack multiple things on at the same time with potentially not spending any mana at all. So we had to pay attention to the bonuses and benefits and action economy that was being gained from these exploits, so that if somebody chose to reduce one down to 0, it still had a tangible limited cost. And some of them to like really be able to get like you can for instance, you can, for 1 mana, you can fly for 1 round, which is fine if you want to learn that twice. You still have to be touching ground every turn, so you can't just fly across the sky. You're going to stay generally within 20 feet of the ground, which is fine. That's good combat. But you can spend additional mana to increase your flight speed, so you can get further distance per round than you would be able to on foot. So making 2 of those things, like making not only being able to fly, but also being able to double or triple or quadruple your speed free, that's too much. Like just to be able to do that on its own is outclocking what racial features allow you to do. So keeping that in line at low levels with basically what's a racial class feature that you can do at will. That's the kind of scale of power needed for the exploits that you can do for free. And like maneuvers as well, like as a bonus action, give your ally a reaction to attack somebody, and they make a die roll and add that result to the attack roll. That costs 1 mana and a bonus action to do. But you could reduce it down to 0 mana if you learn it twice. And like at 5th level, you only have 6 things that you know how to do. So if you want to spend 2 of them to do that thing for less mana, so a 1st level thing can potentially be free to do per round. It's a lot of your power budget that you're putting into that. I don't have a problem with it as long as it's not overtuned. And that's where I'm at right now, is trimming down the overtuning so that it feels good when you spend mana and it isn't broken when you don't. Interesting challenge design. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and so far it's all been working out. I had a great team that's having a lot of fun being really imaginative and building cool characters. So I am very much looking forward to next week, Monday. Oh, whoa, we're closing in. We're closing in. Well, we'll just go ahead and fill in the holes, and I'll show you how we erase it down and build the texture. And then phase 2 of this is the same, just at a different size brush with a different color. So I'll go ahead and get that taken care of off screen, and then share with you tomorrow. Once you see this texturing come in, you'll get it, and I'll see if I can get this finished off screen later on tonight. And so when we're back on stream tomorrow morning, I will show you the process of building trees, of coloring the trees, and that will be fun as well. See if I can knock these sessions down a little bit more quickly. And in the Eberron Spelljammer asteroid mining campaign that I run for my home table, they have decided to have their first diplomacy mission, negotiating with the warlords of Droam that have been basically raiding their space. And they want to get into a conversation about why are they there, what are they doing, what do they need to do to get rid of them, how can they resolve this, and does that open up any opportunities for them? So we'll see. We'll see what the Medusa want to do. Hey, Rel, what's going on? We are putting texture on the this is a forest floor Matt, this is the forest that we've been building, right? So we're currently adding texture to the floor. We put in a color flat on yesterday's session. We built this base, just some coloration as this ground. And now this is the first layer of texture that we put down on the ground to represent, you know, like sticks, twigs, roots, and blah. I'm going to add in the description down below when I finish the episode 132 and 133 of this playlist, so it's easy to link back when we created this texture language in the village map that we had created back then. God, where are we at right now on episode 295? Yeah, back at episode 132. I'll connect it for you guys. Hey, what's up? Wizards doing what? What? Wizards doing what? What? So the way that my home table, the team has decided to have a diplomacy mission against the warlords of Droam in the Spelljammer Asteroid Belt campaign that I run, and this will be their first diplomacy mission. But I'm honestly still fleshing it out. I have an idea of how it works, but this is going to be basically Sunday night that I'm going to do this, and it's going to be my acid run, as it were. I'm redesigning conversations as a dungeon, where topics of conversation are rooms, and the characters are going to be dealing damage to each other as talking points. And so if they win the observation or interaction, they either learn new information or have a point of negotiation conceded to the team. And if the characters roll poorly, they create additional complications, as in like additional grievances or complaints, or accusations that the team must resolve to be able to achieve any further progress in the negotiation. And if the character runs out of hit points, quote unquote hit points, during negotiation, they're basically cut from the team, because the Droam warlords will no longer respond to that diplomat, because their reputation is what the hit points represent, and their reputations become so damaged during the negotiation that they've effectively eliminated them from being effective. So that's the gist of it. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to minimize that, and now I'm going to take the brush that we have, and we take the erase to about 40%, I think is where it's supposed to be at. So we're going to see what Wizards will do. Oh, Medusa. I think I was trying to say Medusa and probably stumbled it. Yeah, the Medusa. That the monster nation of Droam in my campaign is ruled by Medusa, and so the team is going to go negotiate with Medusa to ask them to stop bullying their miners and leave their territory alone. And I don't know how that's going to go. So I get to brainstorm a number of grievances or goals that the Droam envoys may have, and it's up to the team to navigate that conversation. Their goal is to get Droam to leave them alone. That's the goal that they're going into. The Droam warlords keep raiding their territories while they're attempting to mine, and it's been disrupting mining operations, so the team is losing money. And on top of that, the asteroids that are drifting through orbit move in and out of different companies' territories. So every time the miners stop working because of whatever issue they have, they're losing time with that asteroid. Is going to move out of their territory into somebody else's. And guess where Droam is located in relation to the characters? They're downstream of the orbit. So every time Droam comes into the team's territory and scares away the miners, it basically gives Droam more time to mine the rocks that your team hasn't had a chance to get to, because they basically zoned them away from the asteroid rock, and that's becoming a problem. But Droam is a feudal system of different warlords, so if you pick a fight with any of them, you might have multiple fights for the rest of your company's existence, and that is, on the long term, potentially not sustainable. So they want to negotiate instead of attack, to find out what's going on and if they can create an actual ongoing solution. And these were, I let them do anything they wanted. They chose diplomacy, one, because they hadn't done one before, and two, they didn't want to potentially lose an armed conflict with a nation of Medusas. But the idea is that debating a specific issue, like oh, I don't know, they're bordering territories, so like just the most basic point of stay out of our territory might come with a number of demands that the team discovers, and there'll be the default demand that the villains will make to comply with the request, but there also might be hidden demands that the team will have to discover that could change the relationship that they're building with these envoys. There's an option, like the team already knows. They could potentially work to get hired by Droam and change their allegiance away from the guild operator. The guild operators are currently working for, and flip their territories over to work for Droam and work for the monsters, which might make sense because in earlier adventures they found and have started training a swarm of insects that eat rock but leave metallic ore behind. They only eat the carbon, which is incredibly valuable, but they're monsters. They basically be trading, instead of, basically it would be converting themselves to, instead of hiring and maintaining crews of miners, they would instead become monster ranchers that are basically taking monsters to an asteroid to graze on it, and when they move on from grazing, the only thing that's left is just raw ore that can just be gathered up and then smelted. Very easy. So that's an option that they have. They could also, if they really wanted to, try to take, like aggressively take territories away from Droam, like Droam has been doing for the characters. But Droam has a higher military structure, more military power than the characters do currently. So until the characters have as many territories and the same level of military power as Droam, they can't realistically do that. They're just going to get taken. So they have to either have to find a way to get Droam to leave them alone so they can continue building resources, form an allegiance with Droam so that they could potentially get help from them to continue building their resources, or overcome Droam to enforce what the characters want to do. And I think these are all great options, but those are basically the three paths that they have. And so I'm going to, depending on how the team decides to move, that those will be basically the three main plot, like the three main paths that the characters can attempt to follow during negotiation. And so I'll set up obstacles and complaints and grievances and accusations related with each one of those goals. And as the party navigates the conversation, they'll lean towards one of the three, which will set up and trigger different plot points. And so it'll be, I'll be able to visualize it like as a sort of dungeon. And there'll be there'll be secret paths that lead to hidden goals that maybe the team will discover during their negotiations if they can sniff out what goals, what some of the hidden goals that Droran might actually have with their territories. They could potentially use that as leverage to gain points in their negotiation. But I don't know how the team is going to conduct it. I don't necessarily know how I'm going to put it together. But this is the entire campaign is a playtest for this sort of mode of running games. This transforming different pillars of adventure into different action economies. Like I talk about how combat has heavy action economy. That it's you break down your actions per round with actions, bonus actions, movement, reactions, object interactions, versus after an hour you make one ability check and you successfully climb the mountain. Or you talk to the merchant, you roll your persuasion die and you get a discount because of your success. That's the exploration pillar, is just a single ability check. But the combat pillar of play is deep action economy. And this play test, we are basically taking that deep level of action economy and applying it to a negotiation, a conversation, where the hit points of damage is basically your reputation or your ability to continue making meaningful points in the debate. And when you run out of hit points, that character's burned out. Their talking points are no longer effective. So then that character effectively dies in the conversation, and the team has to roll up a new character and swap them in to continue engaging in verbal combat. Phil, I've been thinking about on a conversation we had one time about how D&D doesn't innovate. I changed my mind on the subject. I think D&D does innovate. Right on. Okay. What's that pulling from, man? D&D or WotC specifically, because the company, whoever owns D&D are the ones that are innovating for D&D. D&D itself is just an engine, it's like a Ford engine. You can lift up the hood of the game and tinker with the engine itself to mess around with its performance and how it runs, how you roll the dice, all that stuff, what the rules are. It's the steward of the game that currently decides what those rules are. And a lot of accusation comes that Wizards doesn't innovate, but 5e is an incredibly innovative game engine that you can do a ton of stuff with. And I'm going to be here for another, like another 10 minutes. Yeah. So we'll get this pixeling done. I spy with my eye something about his text. Hey, what's up? Oh, that sucks. But yeah, oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 5e is an amazing game engine that lets you use the parts and rebuild them and reflavor them narratively, but the mechanics still work. It's just how are you narrating and depicting the use of them, and that is absolutely on the players and the DMs. The publishing company provides the basic mechanisms, and then it's the players that go off and make it work, you know, make it run. Our ingenuity is the gasoline that fuels the car. Pardon the horrible analogy. Okay, so that's our first layer of texturing. Jumping here at the 5-foot scale, and as you can see, it's just readage. Let's go to our reference page here. I think what I want to do. Knock that down a little bit. Put it at 66. And then we're going to do the whole thing over again. But this time we're going to use this color. So I'm going to run out of time here pretty soon, but I'm going to be doing this again using this color, and then I'm going to do it again with a different brush and a different color. So I don't need to necessarily entertain you with me stippling this whole page repeatedly, but you can see now that with the color, adding more color, and it gets easier and easier to see the grid on the map. So, there. Yeah, let's just do our perimeter. So I'll get this taken care of by tomorrow, and so when we come back, we'll see how I do this process with trees as well. Different texture, different brush, different approach, but just as satisfying. Keep wheeling around, Kearney. And regarding the martial powers, I found a number of solutions for the first rank exploits that I was having a problem with. First off, I have no issue with the reactions or the strikes, sustained powers, all the everything other than the exploits at first rank I'm perfectly fine with. And the solution that I came up with with some of the exploits was to convert them into reactions, convert them into maneuvers, and to tie the actions to like a dash action, for instance. Like instead of being just movement based, it's like when you use the dash action, XYZ happens. So that puts an action economy cap on using some of these things. So like one of the problems was like some of them were worded so that they could just be spammed infinitely per round, like the bait and switch that we were working on yesterday. Instead, make that a reaction. So when an ally is when an ally moves within 5 feet of you, or is within 5 feet of you, as a reaction, meaning during their turn, you can switch places with them and give them a boost to their armor class. Like as a reaction, that's going to be far more limited, and becomes something that you aren't just going to generate like 20 mana for free per round to do that 20 times. It's now you only have typically one reaction, or you can spend additional mana to get more than one reaction. So you're spending mana to get reactions to then spend mana to use the reaction. So if you're going to spend mana to get a reaction, making that reaction itself not cost mana is fair, unless it's a higher rank power. So that ended up working out. And then other ones just needed to have the wording reworked so that they were the action economy worked out during a round, even if they aren't specifically linked to any particular action economy. But it was a pretty easy fix, and that just made all these powers, whether they're maneuvers, reactions, or exploits, just that much more defined on what kind of a space and economy can they occupy in the game. And so this playtest for me has already been just a smash success, because we're resolving any of the OP options that would have been available otherwise. So I love playtesting. It takes time away from production like this. It is effort to perform, but it is always worth it. Playtesting is always worth a designer's time. Do not just put out product that hasn't been tested if you want to 100% stand behind the decisions that you make with the thing that you build. What is your favorite kind of what is my favorite third-party company? Jeez, I'm not gonna count my own because that's cheesy. I like Indestructiboy's the cut of his jib more than anybody else. I respect Terran as a creator, even though he's not doing 5e content really anymore. He's moved on to his own game system. But I like his design. I like his sensibilities and his conservative approach to homebrew design. He stays very much inside the action budget. Like he doesn't create. Like I create a lot of like really gonzo effects, and I really torque the 5e engine. He is his design, like in his character class designs and his racial stuff, is more down to earth, more minor innovations, but they're solid. It's like he's a very conservative step in the design direction that I tend to barrel towards. So I really respect that, and I respect his composition. I respect his layout work. I like his design aesthetics. So I'd say he's my favorite. I don't actually purchase a lot of third-party content other than just random documents that on a subject that catches my attention. But I don't buy campaign settings for third parties. I rarely buy racial or class features from third parties unless it's something that one of my players in an open campaign wants to run. Then I'm more than happy to look at it. I would say Mage Hand Press has put out, I think they did the Witch class for 5e, and I've had playtesters use that in the past, and I've enjoyed what it does. And it is 7:59, so I'm going to go ahead and I have to pull the plug here for now, and I'm going to continue working on this tonight off camera. And when we reconvene tomorrow, I should have this terrain finished, and we'll start building trees. Once the trees are done, we'll take care of the campsite icons and the obstacle terrain, and then this map will be done, and we'll move on to the next one. But we're quickly running out of maps. We're almost done with all the maps, and when all the maps are done, that's pretty much when we start working on illustration ideas and layouts. I think the final work of the book should be done by the time the maps are done, so we can just smoothly shift into doing page layouts and an actual book design. So very soon we'll be shifting gears away from this stuff into page design and just spot art. Breaking up the maps to fit on the pages. It's going to be an interesting process. I know I'm still here. I'm supposed to be gone. Should have been gone on a Tuesday morning, being in my head. All right. Well, we'll leave that be. I'm gonna hit save. I'm out of here for the day. It's Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow morning, and then I'll be back tomorrow night. I'll be back Friday morning and Friday at lunch to continue working on the Strixhaven classes, backgrounds, and then Saturday morning. I have no idea what I'm going to do on Saturday morning. We'll figure it out when we get there. All right, that's it for now, guys. Hey, bro, thanks for showing up and playing. Anyone else that's new to the channel, thanks a lot for showing up and checking it out. I'll be back soon. Later.